It is settled then, Yardam. After riding all day, they arrived in the town of Hillside. Hillside was a town of mountains and jewel miners. It was also a very dangerous town, full of criminals. All of the jewel miners carried weapons to protect themselves from thieves. The sun had been down for hours. It was getting late and people were looking at them. "We must be careful here," Ari said. "We should have gone around Hillside," said. "You," he pointed to Lump, "ride with Sad Ida, the one with the scar. He will keep the crown for now. You," he pointed to Ari, "ride with Fat Ekin back there. And Denza, you can ride with me." "This way is faster," Denza said. "Besides, no one is going to bother 8 large humans." "Maybe not," Ari thought. "But everyone will bother 2 Sliwos, and glowmen never fight. Lump is no help. We must stay with the humans at all times." "We are tired," Yardam said. "The horses need rest." "So do I." "What, you want to stay here?" Ari asked. "Let's keep going. We can camp outside of town. We have no camping supplies." "Do you want to sleep on the ground with no blanket or tent?" "No, but then we will rent rooms for the night," Yardam said, riding toward a small group of cabins. "Tomorrow morning, we will leave early, so you will not be scared for long, little Sliwos." Denza laughed, but Ari was not happy. Yardam and his men tied the horses to wooden posts. Yardam walked to the main cabin. "You said you don't have any money," Ari said. The tall, bearded man in yellow turned. "What? Back at Bird's Field, you said you have no money." Yardam stared at the little Sliwo. "That is true. What is your point? How will you pay for the rooms?" The humans looked at their leader. Sad Ida smiled at Lump, who wrote on his notebook. Ekin put his heavy hand on Ari's shoulder. "It is a good question, little Sliwo," Yardam said. "But don't worry, I will sweet-talk them. I'm very persuasive when I need to be." Yardam was indeed very persuasive. He got them 5 large rooms. 1 for himself, 2 rooms for his men, and 1 for Ari, Denza, and Lump to share. Denza took the bed. Ari and Lump put blankets on the floor. At least, the rooms were warm. "I don't trust him," Ari said. "How did he get rooms with no money?" Lump wrote a note. "Maybe he threatened the owner of the cabins." "Yes, that is what I think," Ari said. "He told the cabin owner that his men would hurt them." "Keep your voice down," Denza said. "You think Yardam is dangerous? Then don't talk so loud or he'll hear you. I'm only saying we do not know him. And now, we are spending the night in Hillside. This was a bad idea." "I agree," she said. "Bringing you was a bad idea." Lump laughed. Ari rolled over and tried to go to sleep. The 3 were finally asleep when the door burst open. Dark figures had broken the door and ran into the small room. Ari sat up, but was hit in the head. He fell back down, crashing into Lump. They heard Denza scream and saw her being picked up. Someone was kidnapping her. Holding his bruised head, Ari got up again. The dark figures were not humans, they looked like miners. Miners were shorter and rounder than most humans. Their skin was very pale, because they did not get much sunlight. Their eyes were very big to help them see better in the darkness of the mines. One miner held Denza and ran outside with her. His hand was over her mouth and she was not making any sound. The other miner waited at the door for a moment. He looked confused. He was holding something. He had taken Denza's blanket. Suddenly, Ari heard the sound of the humans coming. They would be able to help. "Miners have taken Denza," Ari shouted. He saw Sad Ida and Ekin running toward him. The second miner ran into the darkness and caught up with the first miner, the one who held Denza. In the dark, it was hard to see which one held her, and which held the blanket. Ari was chasing them. He pointed in their direction. Go after them, he yelled at the two humans. They have her. Miners were very fast runners. They were already far away. One went left, the other went right. Which one has the female? Ekin asked, running next to Ari. I cannot tell, Ari said. Come with me. We'll chase the left one. Sadida, go right. Lump stayed at the cabin. Glowmen were extremely slow walkers, and they never ran, but when Yardam and the other humans came, Lump wrote them the story of what happened. Do not worry, the former king said. My men will catch those monsters. They will save your friend. Lump waited with Yardam and the others. After an hour, Ari, Sadida, and Ekim returned. Denza was not with them. I caught one of the miners, Sadida said. But he did not have the female Sliwo. He only carried a blanket. Did he say where the other miner was going? Yes, the scarred human said, rubbing his fists. I made him talk. The kidnapper is taking Denza west to the sea towns. Why? Yardam asked. Are they going to Springfield like us? Sadida nodded his head. They will try to sell her there. Ari was startled. What do you mean, sell her? She is a person, not a horse. Yardam's blue eyes were very sad. There is much you do not know about the world, he said. You have never left Bird's Field, have you? It isn't safe to leave, Ari said. Why isn't it safe? Because bad things happen in the other towns. The leader looked down at his feet. But, you don't know what bad things, do you? All you know is the world is not safe. But you don't know why. I never wanted to know why, Ari said, crying. Why had he left his town? He knew he was right to stay home. This was all Denza's fault. And now she was gone. I understand, Yardam said. But get dressed. We're leaving now. You are going to learn things you did not want to know. It took 2 days to get to Springfield. The sea town was beautiful, the sandy beaches were clean and lovely, the blue sea looked warm and full of life. But there was no time for fun or fishing. Denza was still missing. She might be here. She might still be the miner's captive, unless he had sold her. I have never seen anything like this, Lump wrote. When we find Denza, we should move here. Ari agreed. Springfield looked like a perfect town. But, he did not feel comfortable here. There is something wrong about this place, he said to his friend. Do you feel it? Lump shrugged. Glowmen did not feel very much of anything. They were not very sensitive persons. Yardam led the way. His black horse was in front. It seemed like he knew where he was going. Have you been here before? Ari asked. No, where will we begin our search? Yardam waved to Sadida. Sadida rode his horse closer to his leaders. What is it, my lord? Sadida asked Yardam. The tall human in yellow pointed at Ari. Tell this Sliwo where we are going. We are going to the slave market, the scarred man said. Your friend Denza will be there. How do you know that? Ari asked. He knows, Ekin said, because he's smart. Ari was getting scared. He did not like the feeling he had. And how do you know where the market is? You said you have never been here. Suddenly, Ari realized he had not seen any people in Springfield. But then, he saw someone, a pale miner. No, a group of miners. He looked in the window of a building. There were miners inside. Far away, he saw a miner riding a small horse. No, it was a donkey. Sorry, Yardam said. But we have not been honest with you. He pointed to the left. Not very far away, Ari saw a large fenced area. It looked like a big cage for animals. Inside the cage were many Sliwos and other creatures. They were being held captive. This beautiful town has the largest slave market in the West, Yardam said. We bring many Sliwos here. You can see them there. And look, there is your friend. Denza. Ari yelled. Denza was in the cage. She was alive, but a prisoner. You work with the miners, Ari said. You are helping them. Sometimes, Yardam said, we bring them a sliwo or two when we are going to Springfield to buy guns. The miners make very good guns. Don't they, Ekin? The best, Ekin said, pointing a very good gun at Ari. The humans put Ari and Lump in the cage. Denza ran over to greet them. I thought I would never see you again, she said. I am sorry, this is my fault. No, don't say that, Ari said, hugging her. He looked around. There were at least 100 sliwos in the prison. How long have you been here? He asked one of them. Not long, the young sliwo said. They will sell us today. Who are they going to sell us to? We don't know. By the way, my name is Ked. My brother, Håkon, is over there. Ked pointed to a small boy sliwo. Håkon did not look well. He looked sick. We have to escape, Ari said. He seemed to be one of the oldest sliwos in the cage. Lump, what can we do to get out of here? Lump frowned. He wasn't a fighter. He did not have any ideas. But then, he watched one of the miners walk over to a donkey. The miner did something, but Ari did not see. Lump took out his notebook and wrote a note. It is getting dark, he wrote. He drew a picture of a donkey and smiled. We will wait until it is late at night. Ari and Denza read the note. They did not understand. Lump drew a picture of a key. He pointed to his picture of the donkey. Ari looked over at the real donkeys. One of them was wearing a small leather bag. Do the guards keep the keys to the cage in that bag? Ari wondered. Then, they looked at Yardam and his men who were talking to some miners. The humans were laughing. The miners were paying money to Yardam. Then Sadida took out the crown. The miners were impressed by the expensive gold crown. They gave money for it too. He lied about everything, Denza said. He stole that crown like he stole me. Yardam looked in her direction, as if he had hurt her. He smiled. Denza spit on the ground. Later that night, the humans were gone. They had taken their money and left. All the sliwos were on the ground sleeping. The miners had gone to their homes, except for a few guards. Most of the guards were drinking and playing a card game. A few of their donkeys were standing around near the cage. The donkeys were not tied down. They were free to walk around. When everything was quiet, Lump tapped Ari on the shoulder. Ari tapped Denza and Ked. None of them were really sleeping. They were pretending. Slowly, all of the sliwos got up. Lump, the glowman, held out the palm of his hand. His hand was glowing with a small red light. He waved his hand at the donkeys, and they looked at it. Very carefully, they walked over to see what the light was. Like all glowmen, Lump was very good with animals. They loved him and he loved them. The donkeys were not afraid of Lump. They walked over to stand next to him. He reached out his arm and took the bag off the donkey. The key was inside the bag. He gave it to Ari, and Ari quickly unlocked the cage. The guards were taking a nap. Ari and Denza quietly took their weapons and gave them to other sliwos. They gathered all the donkeys and slowly walked away from the cage. They were very quiet as they escaped Springfield. Tomorrow, they would take the long way around Hillside, and then would return to Bird's Field. Ari, Denza, and Lump would tell the others what had happened, then they would take back the other kidnapped sliwos to their towns too. Soon, all of the sliwo towns would unite. Soon they would join together to create an army. They would fight the miners, and the humans too if they saw any. The innocent sliwos had learned 2 important lessons. The world is a very scary place, and never trust a human.